Okay.
All right, welcome to Toyratt Toys. Today we have a guest speaker, and his name is Rui, and we're going to be talking about the handhelds. So Rui, let's talk about what you grew up with. Do you recognize any of these old handhelds?
Yes, Evo. Actually, can you give me just give me a little description of the Simon. I remember these guys way back when they used to have the Simon commercials on TV. And this was made by Milton Bradley. And I think this is one of the first electronic games I tried when I was young. And this one here was really popular, especially back in the 80s. Everyone used to play the Simon game, and we used to play these. And these used to be very common. The first Simon game I ever saw was at a store which no longer exists called Consumer Distributing. And they used to have tons of these, and I think the last time I saw one of these was back in the early 90s, and that was at a garage sale. So this is a very rare item, but it's one of the first, you could say, electronic interactive games, similar to what the Wii is now. And it's a fun little game, especially if you have little kids. They may actually will appreciate this stuff, and actually this would be a good game if you have young children. So that's the Simon game made by Milton Bradley Electronics.
There it is, folks. Original in box and working, complete, with battery covers. Original I believe it's 78 or 79. 1978. All original, as Rui was saying. Okay. Next off, well, you choose something there, Rui. See if you recognize it.
This one here. This is the Atari Lynx. I remember these guys quite well. They used to come with these little cartridges similar to what you would find on the TurboGrafx 16, the little HU cards. Similar to that. This one here had a very good screen for its time. It was actually a very powerful system for a handheld. It was had colorful graphics. It had a very kind of like, for the small screen, it had a little bit of a low resolution. I think it was 160 by 100 or 104, something like that. And had a lot of classic games. You had California games. You had Rampage. They had a lot of games that came with these systems. The good thing about the Lynx was that regardless how you played it, you could always play it in multi-directional, and it was fun to play. You could also do head-to-head, and this is a very good handheld system, a definite collectible. This is one of the last game systems that Atari made. After the Atari finished with the Lynx, they produced the Jaguar, and that was the Jaguar, as we know it, was the swan song for Atari. So if you ever want to see the only handheld video game system that Atari has ever produced, this is a definite collectible. And you won't find too many of these around, especially the games. The games for these are very hard to find.
Can I say something, Rui?
Sure,
just pop up with the side there. There is a game in it.
Oh,
lo and behold, look at that. Untouched for almost 20 years.
Oh, you know how to open that stuff up, right? Yeah,
there it is.
It's very similar to the HU cards that you find on the TurboGrafx 16, slightly wider, but I believe these cards were at the time 128K or 256K.
You are correct, Rui.
And they were the Atari Lynx wasn't very successful at all. It got beaten out by the Nintendo Game Boy, and to a lesser extent the Sega Game Gear. But these were very good games. The Lynx had a very good games. Problem was the catalog of these games were very small compared to the systems like especially the Game Boy and the Game Gear. But they definitely were collectibles. So that's the Atari Lynx. This one here, this is a toy game.
How many do you need, Rui? There's another one.
Oh, jeez. Thank you, Evo. Yeah, this is a Merlin game. It was basically a phone type of game. A lot of little kids used to play it, and basically it was a game like a vocabulary game. Then you basically answer questions by touching a sequence of buttons. Very similar. Actually, the concept of this game is very similar to Simon by Milton Bradley, but it just it was more voice interactive with it. Evo, do you know anything else about these Merlin games?
I know they're a hot commodity. I know that. Here it is. An original Merlin with battery covers and instructions. Here's the original instructions, circa late 70s. We've got 2 in stock, left in stock I should say, from the vault. There we go, Rui. The original LEDs.
This was really good. Actually, this is another one of those Radio Shack toys I used to get when I was younger. I think this one was...
But it's not Radio Shack, Rui. How dare you say that? That is made by Parker Brothers.
No, like, it is Parker Brothers, but I used to get this at Radio Shack.
Yes.
And same with these Zaxxon and mini arcade games. Back in the day when I was young, I always wanted one of these. And they were hard to find. They had similar games like this, where they were driving games, so they would have like the little steering wheel attachment and all that. So this is one of those sets of games where if you're nostalgic for some of the classic gameplay before they had actual handheld games like the Game Boy and the Lynx, this is what we used to play back in the day. Ooh, that was cool. This is really cool. Oh shit.
Original coleco head-to-head boxing.
Yeah, I remember
just
this one.
Unearthed, folks.
This one is
from the vault.
This one was an LED game that I used to play, and actually this came out, I believe, was this 76? It doesn't say here, but I think this came out just before the ColecoVision came out.
No date on the back?
No, but before Coleco got into making the ColecoVision, they actually got into making like these kind of handheld toys that were very portable, and they were very diverse. Atari, I think, believed they did this something similar where they would start these little small toys, but what Atari did is, Atari, not too many people know, but these handhelds were actually precursors to console systems. And the reason being is that these handheld systems, there was no such thing as a cartridge-based console. So what ended up happening is Atari thought, well, what's the best way to prolong the life cycle of a product? Well, they decided to make, well, instead of having dedicated video game systems like what these handhelds were back then, they decided to make it cartridge-based. So basically all you have to do is change the programming and you got a different game. Well, what you're seeing here is basically the last of that era, just before the Atari 2600 came out. And these were really what the kids of the 70s would have played, early 70s would have played, before video game cartridge systems came out. Oh, this one's cool. Quarterback football. This one, the graphics were very simple on these. It was just basically red dots that moved all around. So you kind of had to have a little bit of creative imagination to play this game. Very good game. Basically, what you're trying to do is your player is basically the bright red dots, the very bright ones. The slightly dimmer dots are your opponents. It was a one-player game. And basically all you were trying to do is you get this one player and you try to dash back and forth to try to get to the other goal zone, like end zone, without touching the other opposing red dots. Well, the good thing about this game is you can control your own player's dots besides the one that carries the ball. And this was really cool. So all you have to do is make sure you make contact with the opposing players with the other dots, and then the dot that carries the ball is the one that you're trying to reach the end zone. So it was kind of like a multitasking game that you had to play by using more than one player to control. Really cool.